All right. Hi, everybody. I'm David Havlick. I'm a senior sustainability manager in the Harvard Office for Sustainability. And I'm so excited to see so many people RSVP to this info session for our Council of Student Sustainability Leaders. I've been helping to run the program for about 5 years. And what I'm really excited about today is we have some returning CSSL members, which will give you an idea of what they got out of the program. I will talk about sustainability at Harvard. Oh, wait, let me show you the agenda and where we're headed. I will be talking about sustainability at Harvard. Then I'll be giving some more details about what the expectations are for members of the Council of Student Sustainability Leaders. We have a guest that can talk about another opportunity related to sustainability, so you're all aware of it. And then we'll have time for questions and answers at the end. I'll be stopping the recording for the Q&A, so you can feel really comfy asking pretty much any question. It won't get recorded, but if there's important things that come out of that, I'll add those to the website. So without further ado, I'm going to start introducing some returning council members to share a little bit about their experience and maybe some advice for potential future council members. So I'm going to start with Natalia, an absolute star and joy to work with. She's from the Divinity School. So welcome, Natalia, and maybe share some things with the attendees.
Thank you, David. That was such a nice introduction. It's an absolute joy to work with you as well, and with the rest of the Office of Sustainability team and with the CSSL. So just quickly, I am a Harvard MTS graduate. I graduated this past spring. Oh, that's just my face now. I graduated this past spring, and I currently have I currently serve as the assistant program director for the program for the evolution of spirituality at the Divinity School, which is internally categorized as a fellowship. I had the joy of working on a couple different projects while a member of the CSSL, but I brought forward to the team the Harvard Microprairie Project. The goal of the project was to identify underused, underaccessed, and deteriorating ground spaces around the Harvard campus, and to replant those spaces with native pollinator-friendly plants and create little pockets of microprairies around the campus. So the hope is to cut down on emissions, cut down on water usage, to benefit the soil health, as well as helping with soil remediation, and to help feed our local pollinators and non-human neighbors. So my experience with the CSSL was that it's a really fabulous and fantastic community of folks who have a very similar interests or hopes of creating a better space for people and planet, and also a great way to get to know people across departments, and not just students, but staff and faculty, which I found that's because Harvard is so siloed, it can be kind of hard to meet people in different spaces, and the CSSL is a wonderful place and a very supportive environment to meet people and to get involved and to understand better how complicated, but also how supportive an institution can be.
Great, thank you so much, Natalia. I will remove the spotlight from you, and now I'm going to move the spotlight to Soma. Soma is an extension school student. I spent the summer working very closely with Soma and someone else you'll be hearing from later, and it's been a joy to work with her. And so now she's going to give some information about her experience.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. So I'm Soma from Extension School, and it's so wonderful to see so many of you interested in sustainability. And so I'll start off by saying that it's a pleasure, first of all, to work with David. And I can't believe that it was just last year that I was attending this very session, trying to understand what CSSL is all about. And today here I am talking about, why you should be joining CSSL. So I'm really glad that I attended that session. My journey in Harvard has actually changed, I think, after attending this session. CSSL has become an equal part of my learning. So I think it's very important that if the sustainability is is an important part of your career choice or interest in the future, then I think you're in the right place. I started off with a project called Package Free Shopping Experience on campus, and been doing some research to try and see if we can install like refillable pumps for like soaps and detergents to avoid like single plastic usage on campus. So that's a project that I started off, and then I branched off a little and started working with David and Sakiko on the waste of the sustainability action plan. So that has also been a very enlightening experience for me as I was learning and contributing at the same time. And through this journey, I discovered my capstone project. So what I would say is that if you are thinking, well, do I have the time, or can I make a good use of CSSL? I think it's a great place to network, but also it might just change your journey with Harvard. So if you're on the fence, I would say like hop on, be there, and try and see if you can contribute to the community.
Beautiful. Thank you, Soma. Next, we have Soihan from the college. Soihan?
Yeah, hello everyone. Let me know if you can't. Oh, sorry. It was just telling me you spotlighted me, but
Oh.
if you can't hear me because I'm under tent and it's raining. But I'm Soihan. I'm a junior at the college. I study environmental science and public policy with a secondary in global health and health policy. So I've been a part of CSSL since I was a freshman in college. And it's really been a great opportunity just to meet people that are interested in what I'm interested in, like sustainability, environment, health, and also like hear about their own interests, which like a lot of people are graduate students or they're like older people in college. So it's been a really great chance for me to develop like my own interests and figure out like what could I do in the future and learn from others that are also in CSSL. When I joined in freshman year, I joined like a couple projects that were already going on, and then sophomore year, after I had some experience under my belt, I developed like a new project of my own, which is basically just connecting sustainability groups on campus. So there are a lot of different Harvard sustainability groups. My freshman year, I think I joined like 4 or 5 of them. Like there are so many of them on campus, and oftentimes they're doing things that are really similar, or they have really similar missions, and they just like have slightly different niches. So by fostering communication and collaboration, we can like reduce the manpower going into projects that are essentially like almost the same across different groups. Also like have people learn from each other because they bring different perspectives on sustainability and environmentalism that like kind of herd people into one group if you're interested in like environmental justice versus like business or things like that. So just fostering that like communication is really great for learning about other people and like what they're interested in. So that's something I've been working on since last year. Hopefully this upcoming year we'll connect with some more groups and then maybe even some graduate groups. I've also been working with the group that has been giving feedback on Harvard's sustainability plan. So not just this group, but also like all of CSSL has contributed to like giving feedback towards the plan, talking about basically like Harvard sustainability structure and how students fit into that, how we can like drive change in Harvard. So that's been a lot of really cool conversations in CSSL that I've been lucky to be a part of. So overall, I guess my advice would be if you like have projects that you want to do, CSSL is a great place to start them and to continue them because the people here like know how to use the resources, like know how to do projects. So you can learn a lot just about like project management, about sustainability, like just general like life skills. So if you're interested in projects, that's really great. If you don't really have a specific project you're interested in or that you're thinking of currently, a lot of people are running their own projects and they'd be totally happy to have you join. So that's a great opportunity to meet people, learn about something new, maybe that you haven't had experience with before. And because it's so project-based, I feel like CSSL has like a lot of different ways to cater to a lot of different interests. So if you're interested in like microqueries like Natalia, or you're interested in waste like Sakiko, like there's something for everyone. So I hope you all join. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Soihan. And speaking of Sakiko, I'm going to invite Sakiko next to speak.
Yes. Do you hear me okay? yeah, here it's really raining a lot too. And the roof over me is just really fine. So I am a student at Divinity School, but before that I was a student at the Extension School. So I got to be part of this group for a little while longer. I think the big thing that I learned from the CSSL is how the institution works. And if you join, you'll learn how decentralized Harvard is and how complicated things can be. So you really get to learn how different staff work and who knows what, and I don't know, who you could communicate with, and the new thing that even David learned like one day. So that's been a really interesting part of learning for me, is in like really realizing how Harvard works, or yeah. So the last year I got to work on the waste component in the sustainability plan, and then we basically made case studies from each institution, from Harvard College, actually college didn't work, but Radcliffe Institute to Divinity School to business school, Kennedy School. So we interviewed each staff, so we actually know like how the waste management works in each school. And as far as I understand it, there isn't really a data like that compiled anywhere. So I think there's a lot to work on that dimension. But because of that work, I got to really meet with Soma and David over the summer and work out how exactly we can really articulate what our vision is and how we can implement with the staff and the faculties and the students. So that was really an exciting project to be part of and continue to be on. I think if I were to give an advice just for those who are really interested in joining, I think you just share ideas with David or whoever around you, and I see, what ideas come out of it. You'll never know until you share ideas, and then like something interesting pops up, or something that you hadn't thought about, or interesting dimension comes up. So I really encourage you to just say it out loud and see what comes out. Yeah, thanks.
I love it. I love that advice. Thank you, Sakiko. And it's so true. I mean, I feel like we're this safe space to come up with really wild, creative ideas together and then see if we can do it together. And if we can't, we move on to the next thing. So I love that advice. That's great. Now I'm going to invite David. David, you're there, right? Perfect.
Here we go. You can hear me, correct? Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel as though everyone has kind of said all of the words that I was going to say. Just basically join the council. There's a whole bunch of projects to choose from. Everyone always brings their own passion projects and their own ideas and energy into it. Really, there's something for everyone, and the council is what you make out of it. What's interesting from what I've heard from everyone is how we've been having in the council these conversations about the sustainability plan and all of these steps we would like to take, and how in just the past week, Harvard has really kind of supercharged everything we were kind of just saying in conversations, just with peers and with professors, like, oh, maybe one day Harvard would do this. In just the past week, Harvard has just supercharged this whole climate action plans and new appointments and all of the new investments to research and so forth. So yeah. You never know what can come out of this experience is basically the lesson to be learned. So definitely come on board, be a part of that movement to make Harvard a leader in green technology and sustainability and so forth. And you will never know what can actually be achieved, but just by like being a part of this bigger movement. So yeah, definitely join.
Great, thank you, David. And you're so right. And that is actually a perfect segue, unless I don't think Maddie has joined yet, right? Maddie, if you have, just let me know. Right, okay, so let's see. We're gonna go back to my slides. Let me just get that up. But thank you for that segue, David, because I think the next thing we're gonna talk about is sustainability at Harvard, what's going on, how kind of things are structured. And then, of course, we're going to dive into how the council works and how you'll be working within that kind of framework of sustainability at Harvard. So just starting with the Office for Sustainability, just to give you a sense of what me and the team in the office does, our vision is that we strive to build an inclusive community that contributes to the intergenerational well-being of people and the planet. And so that definition of intergenerational well-being is really key to our work. This is a globally accepted definition of sustainability, which really is making it clear that why we're caring about the planet, why we're caring about climate change, why do we care about all this stuff? It's because we as humans need a stable climate for survival. We need clean water, we need clean air. So when we talk about, and you'll be hearing much more of this kind of at Harvard and beyond, that this is, things like climate change is a public health emergency. And these are things that are about our well-being now and in the future. It's although I care about rivers and trees just for the sake because they're beautiful and they're wonderful, it's really their life-giving power that's really important. And so that's really at the heart of what we do. Our mission in the Office for Sustainability is to advance solutions to these global health and environmental challenges that benefit the common good. And what I mean by that is we're not doing this at Harvard to make Harvard the most sustainable university, so we'll be the best. That's not our goal. The goal is that we can serve as a model to experiment, to test, to pilot, prove, and then scale these things, both within Harvard and beyond. And so you'll see, a big part of our work is really sharing these things out with the world. And of course, being a higher ed institution like Harvard, we're really grounded in the research and practice, so translating that research into practice and empowering people to be stewards for the future. Some of the ways that my office does this work, we work with students, faculty, staff, and alumni and our local community to create a vision and policies and a sustainability plan, as many of the returning students mentioned, which I'll get to in a little bit. We bring those people together to use the campus as a test bed to test out new strategies and solutions. We're hoping to create transformational opportunities for students. So I'll be checking in through the year with council members. What are you learning? What do you want to learn? How can we help kind of foster and support that? And of course, at a big, huge, complex, decentralized organization that's almost 400 years old like Harvard, this organizational change mission is at the heart of what we do. And then we partner with external companies, the cities of Cambridge and Boston, et cetera, to do this work. Harvard set up, President Bacco set up a presidential committee on sustainability just a couple of years ago that advises the president and the university leadership on sustainability plan and vision. We're making sure that's grounded in the latest science and research, and that we're translating this research into solutions. We have new co-chairs that were just announced. This is in a Gazette article that was out, Harvard Gazette article out recently. Our new co-chairs of this presidential committee are Professor Jody Freeman from the law school and Professor Mike Toffel from the business school. Super excited to have them at the helm, together with Executive Vice President Katie Lapp. This presidential committee has been kind of guiding our work on meeting our fossil fuel goals, which I'll talk about in a second, and our sustainability plan. But they also, and some of our council members are on this presidential committee, but also this presidential committee comes to this council of sustainable student sustainability leaders for advice, for input in a lot of the work that they do. And so Harvard, as many of us have kept mentioning, is extremely decentralized. What we mean by that is each school, the law school, the medical school, et cetera, operates almost completely independently. They're picking who manages their cafeteria. They're picking who's mowing their lawns, et cetera. They're picking which company is going to clean their buildings. Some of those schools pick Harvard as a vendor. Some of them pick outside ones, which means that we need policies and things to keep kind of everyone and our definition of sustainability, for instance, really clear for all those multiple companies. It also is further decentralized because even within schools and within departments and disciplines, things are siloed. And so what this council is really good at is bridging those divides, breaking down those silos, because hopefully we're going to have students from almost all of Harvard's 12 schools on this council. And I have to say, for me, it's exciting to see that those cross-disciplinary conversations happen, because that's where we're going to get the really great solutions. That's where we're all going to learn more. And that's really powerful at a place like Harvard. We're also very big. We span over 650 buildings, which encompass over 25 million square feet. That's maybe double the size of Stanford in terms of building space, almost the size of Google. We serve 10 million plus meals a year. So when we do things on food, for instance, which I'll get into later, we have a really big impact. And so at Harvard, we have a couple things governing and setting our vision. So we have a university-wide sustainability plan that you can see on the left that was launched in 2014 and carried us through 2020 and really through now, because the priorities in that sustainability plan are still our priorities. But we're in the process right now of designing our next sustainability plan. And as some of the returning members mentioned earlier, this council weighed in on some reports that will be guiding that sustainability plan work. And this year, as we start to draft sections of it, some of the sections were drafted by some of the council members who you heard from, we will be coming to this council for feedback and comments and things like that. So this is a really big year for sustainability, not just because of the commitments that were announced this week, like a vice provost for climate and sustainability and things like that, but also because we'll be probably next year launching a new sustainability plan. At Harvard, we also have fossil fuel free and fossil fuel neutral goals. This is building on our success of meeting our first climate goal in 2016, which was to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 30%. Now we have this goal to be fossil fuel neutral by 2026 and fossil fuel free by 2050. Harvard just published a white paper about what we mean by fossil fuel neutral. It was in the Harvard Gazette. If I think of it, I'll put a link in the chat later, but if you wanted to find out more, just check the Harvard Gazette. And what's really unique about Harvard's approach to climate change is that we're not just focusing on climate change at the expense of thinking about things like health and equity. And so how we're approaching this work is we're not just thinking about carbon. So that's why we don't have a carbon neutral and a carbon free goal. Carbon is causing climate change, and we're definitely focused on carbon, but there's other things happening with burning fossil fuels that are causing harm to health. Things like particulate matter and air pollution that are causing higher asthma rates already now. So as we approach climate, we're also keeping in mind things like health and equity and ecosystems as well as we do that work. We also have, over the past 5 years, created all sorts of policies and standards and guidelines for how Harvard operates, again, grounded in climate equity and health, things like sustainable building standards, food standards, IT standards, et cetera. And so now I'm going to talk a little bit about how we think about Harvard as this living laboratory, and specifically then how the council kind of fits into that. And so at Harvard, we're thinking of Harvard as this test bed to develop solutions that are scalable. And we do that in various areas. So one is through coursework. Harvard, our Office for Sustainability has been a client in many courses over the years. For instance, we're a client in ES 96 this year, systems thinking engineering course, where we're asking them to kind of map out and visualize the food system. We were also a co-creator of this Climate Solutions Living Lab course that was launched in 2016 and will be continuing this year. And the goal of that course was to propose innovative strategies to help expedite that transition to a fossil fuel-free future. We also focus on research and supporting research. We have a student sustainability grant program through our office. There's another information session about that coming up September 15th, and the application deadline's October 15th. And we have something called the Campus Sustainability Innovation Fund, which was on hold last year, but we hope to resurrect it this year or the following year. It's a $700,000 donor-funded program that can help fund projects where faculty, students, and staff have come together to pilot solutions here on campus. We also inform policy, as I mentioned, and I'll just give you a quick sense about our sustainable and healthful food standards. So we, at Harvard, as I mentioned, we have multiple vendors for all sorts of things, which means you may not know this, but a different company runs the cafeteria at the business school, then runs the cafeteria at the School of Public Health, then runs the cafeteria at the School of Education. So we needed to have a real clear definition of what we meant by sustainable and healthful food. And so we put together a multidisciplinary faculty food standards committee, co-chaired by Walter Willett and Ari Bernstein from the School of Public Health. And as we did this work, we consulted again with the Council of Student Sustainability Leaders and our food service vendors on campus. And the mission was and is to provide a more healthful and sustainable food supply, to align our vendors, as I mentioned, around a shared vision, to drive changes in the marketplace, because if we can do things here or push our vendors to do things here, they're more likely to do them in other places, to quantify those impacts and to enhance food literacy and teach others along the way. And so we centered around 6 areas of focus: climate and ecosystems. We signed the Cool Food Pledge just a couple of years ago, which is a pledge, an international pledge of big companies like IKEA, Bloomberg, and NYU and others to reduce food-related greenhouse gas emissions. We have a focus on consumer well-being, things like nutrition, reduction of wasted food, welfare of animals, education and food literacy, and then well-being of workers and communities throughout the value chain. And so you can find our food standards on our website, just as another example of the work that we do and how this council can have an impact. And then we collaborate with the cities of Cambridge and Boston and some other consortia as well. So that's kind of a quick summary of our plan, our fossil fuel goals, and how we kind of think of Living Laboratory. Now I'm going to jump into what does the council have to do with all of this. So first of all, I think there are 3 main things that members of the Council of Student Sustainability Leaders can expect. One is this opportunity to network with students from across the university, so other schools, but also, as Natalia mentioned, with staff, with faculty. We're going to provide opportunities for that networking. Also, there's some alumni who have created the Harvard Alumni for Climate and Environment, and they want to work together, so there may be opportunities to work with alumni as well. So there's networking. Number 2 is informing the work of my office and sustainability kind of at the larger level at Harvard University. So my colleagues will come to this council with draft documents or reports or something we're struggling with and ask for your comments and advice. And then thirdly, which I think helps you be better at helping us do our work, better, is this opportunity to work with other peers across the university on projects. So I think already be thinking of projects you might want to pitch early on, but also, as many of the returning members mentioned, there will be some projects that are going to be continuing on, and you could always join a project as well. So I think that's another exciting opportunity that this council provides. And just to give you an idea of how the fall semester will go, we'll be starting with hopefully an in-person meet and greet, and we're going to have Zoom meetings every week. We're going to be setting a time soon for that. I'll be asking you for your availability if you apply. We'll be doing some kind of intros to certain concepts like Scope 3 greenhouse gas emissions, which are the emissions kind of from the supply chain of things we are purchasing at Harvard. An intro to like communications in my office and things like that. And then as we kind of familiarize ourselves with all of that, then we're going to give council members this opportunity to pitch ideas for projects, and then to start signing up for projects, to draft plans for those projects. And then by the end of the semester, really presenting those plans to each other and then hitting the ground running over the winter and the spring with some of those projects. Sprinkled in here, as I mentioned, will be me and my colleagues coming to the council for advice on different projects we're working on. And then We'll be having a short talk program as we did last year, where council members can kind of take 5 minutes at a meeting and give a presentation on something they're interested in, maybe something they're writing their thesis on, maybe something they learned in a class that they think the group would want to hear about, or something like that. And then we'll have guest speakers as well. And so just to give you an idea what the expectations of council members are. So I would say if you don't have 1, 2, 3 hours a week to dedicate this, you might want to think twice before applying, because we're going to have these weekly meetings, which will be either a half an hour, depending on the time of year. And then you'll be wanting to meet with your project teams in between those meetings. And so I think if you're able to kind of commit to that, or think you'll be able to, I think that's going to be really important. We want really active members, especially this year with so much interest in the council. Early on, you'll be creating a communications plan for your school with your peers, so you'll be able to help us promote events and opportunities to your peers at your school. We would ask that you use the listserv at least once before the end of the semester, maybe sharing something with the council about some event coming up or something like that. We have Facebook and LinkedIn groups that we would want you to join, attend a majority of the meetings, as I mentioned, join a project team. Optionally, you could give a short talk, as I talked about, and then project teams will be presenting twice through the year. And this year, we're going to be starting something new, which I'm pretty psyched about. We've done this in some small level, but I think we're going to broaden it, which is we're going to be asking for people to volunteer really early to take on certain roles within the council. So we need some storytellers. We need some people with some social chairs, organizing some meet and greets or happy hours or things like that. We need people to take notes. We need people to be coordinating a final report for the council. And it's good to be thinking about that from the beginning. We need someone to organize that short talk series that I talked about, and guest talks from external people. So again, be thinking about what role you might play in helping kind of the council operate. And then how we communicate through the year, we're going to have weekly CSSL meetings, as I mentioned. We're going to hopefully have at least one in-person meet and greet this fall, more if things look possible. Project teams will get together themselves, but I can support them in whatever way they need. We have a listserv, we have a shared Google Doc where we post things and have kind of the list of contact list of everybody and things like that. And then I'll be making myself available for office hours at least every other week, if not weekly, if you need help individually, or if your group needs to talk something out or something like that. A lot of our returning members have also volunteered to kind of do one-on-one meetings with new members this year. So you'll feel that connection with someone, especially because we're in this Zoom world mostly. So hopefully we'll do a good job at doing that. And then I'll be checking in through the year periodically. What do you want to learn? Are you learning it? Do you feel supported? How can I help you kind of learn along the way? Because learning outcomes is also extremely important to me, but also to the kind of core mission of this council. Now, I did want to check, Maddie, have you joined?
Me, Maddie?
Maddie Mora? Oh, yeah, you're here. Great. So sorry, we shared voices from other returning council members earlier, but now that you're here, if you wanted to share a little bit of something, and then we're going to jump to other opportunities and then questions from the group.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that other people have touched on this, and David as well. But I think CSSL is kind of unlike anything else offered at the college. So it's like really an unmatched opportunity to be able to work with people from all of Harvard schools. And so the chance to branch out and like not only work from other people, but learn is, like I said, like something pretty unique to CSSL, and it changes the way that the club works. Our reach in terms of our projects is way from other ones. I mean, I'm from the college, from other college organizations, we have a reach into other schools at Harvard, and our scope is beyond just our own campus, which is because we can look at other campuses at Harvard and even outwards at the world. I myself led a project last year that was just aimed at measuring the impact of the pandemic on practices here at Harvard. So especially at Harvard University dining services and restaurant associates at some of the other schools, on the health services, on the libraries even, and just kind of pinpointing areas where the pandemic had introduced waste and thinking about, is that waste actually avoidable? If it's necessary, why is it necessary? And kind of thinking about ways to make solutions. We got some crazy statistics out of that. And actually, just like to inspire you guys further, I think a cool idea for this year and something that is like right up CSSL's alley, a really interesting project and kind of an example of what you could work on as a CSSL member, is measuring the reverse of that. How have we become less sustainable in a move back for a lot of campuses onto campus? What practices did we adopt in the pandemic that actually are more sustainable? And are we going back to ones that we had before, kind of out of habit rather than for regard for how sustainable those practices are? So that's my little project rant. But if I can say anything else, David, let me know.
No, that's perfect. And I just added that project idea to the list. So that way we'll have that on the Google Doc. So again, if you apply and you're on the council, we're going to be seeding some project ideas, just like the one Maddie mentioned. So that's perfect, Maddie. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so now before we move to questions, there is another program at Harvard that's only open to graduate professional students. But we wanted to make sure people knew about that and how it's different from the council and when the application date is and everything like that. So I'm going to invite Samantha Beck to give you a little bit of information about the Climate Leaders Program for Professional Studies at Harvard.
Great, thanks, David. Yeah, so my name is Sam. When I finish talking, I'll put my email in the chat. But I'm an MPP candidate at the Kennedy School, but I'm here to talk about the Climate Leaders Program, which is like David said, a program for professional students at Harvard. So focusing on master's students, there's a similar program for PhD students. So if there's any PhD students that are really interested in this on the line, let me know and I'll try to connect you to that program. But basically, we provide hands-on activities or hands-on opportunities to engage across the graduate school. So our cohort is really diverse. Every year, it tends to have students from every single professional school, the Divinity School, Kennedy School, HBS, etc., to sort of learn about climate-related work and develop your own professional repertoire as it relates to climate and environmental issues. So like I said, open to graduate students. And we are meeting in person this fall. We're really excited. We have our program front-loaded, so we'll be meeting more in September and October than later in the semester so that we can utilize outdoor spaces. We do this program in conjunction with the Harvard University Center on the Environment. So we'll be using their outdoor space, which we're really excited about. So for that reason, the application is actually due tomorrow. That's moved up from past years if anyone's applied in the past. So it is due tomorrow midnight. But it shouldn't take you too long. So you should be okay to fill out the application if you're interested. And there's more information as well as information on previous cohorts and a link to the application at climateleadersprogram.com. I'll also put that in the chat, but it's also pretty easy to remember. So thanks so much.
Great, thank you, Samantha. There we go. All right, and then I wanted to remind everybody on this call that by joining this call, you have not applied yet. So just a reminder for the Council of Student Sustainability Leaders, we'll be putting this video online this evening and the link to our application. And don't forget to apply by September 15th. So that's already next Wednesday. And so you have till the end of that day to apply for the council. It's like, I think 20 questions, they're relatively simple, but I think we would ask, of course, that you were in this session, but also that you've given some thought to kind of what you want to contribute, what you want to get out of the council when you're applying. So again, here's some of our important links on our website if you want to find out more. My email address is there, david_havlick@harvard.edu. And I'm going to now stop the recording and then open it up for questions. But if we get any questions that I think are going to be important for others to know, then I'll put that information on the website. So again, the website is green.harvard.edu/CSSL. Looking forward to working with many of you this year.